hello, and welcome to the Core Dog Experience where I talk Ohio State Buckeyes. So if you're liking this segment, please hit the like button. If you enjoy Buckeye content in general, please subscribe. So, football season is over. 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 Nothing big happening on the gridiron until the spring game. So, in the meantime, there's some other sports we can talk about, namely being basketball, but there's a lot more going on now at Ohio State other than football and basketball. We got the spring sports, fall sports are still going on, and we are good across the board in several sports. Just look at this list. Look at it. Look at it. We are top 10 in several sports across the board. Our women's hockey team, the defending national champs, they are doing their thing. Our men's tennis team, men's wrestling, all top five programs, our men's gymnastics, men's and women's swimming and diving teams. So we on lockdown. We got it going on in sports here at Ohio State, and then top 20 in several other programs are in the top 20 across the board. One of those being lacrosse. I've always liked lacrosse, and I'm starting to get into it more and more because they be hitting in lacrosse. Lacrosse is fun. Too bad I wasn't as popular as it was in my day as it is now. I would have gotten in. I would have gotten into some lacrosse, but on the whole, Ohio State is doing good in several of these non-revenue sports. We are at the top or near the top on in a lot of these programs. And before I delve into the basketball some, because this comes back to some of the NIL effect that people were bringing up during a few months ago or a few weeks ago as the struggles that Ohio State are seeming to have related to NIL money and the amount we have available for our football team or whatnot. And a lot of the folks say we have too many programs, sports programs here at Ohio State, which we got one of the biggest sports budgets at Ohio State, and we cover, I think, probably one of the top universities in how many pro sports programs and sports teams we have out there. And some folks want to do away with some of these other non-revenue sports so we can have more money to allocate to our football team, which, there's arguments, pros and cons of both, but we got a big sports budget, big athletic budget, and folks want to see some of that more money filtered towards our Ohio State football team so we can keep up with the Joneses. But fine if you want to do that, but you're going to cut out some of these non-revenue programs that I just mentioned that we are really good in. So I like having being good across the board in several sports instead of just pouring all our money into one bucket. But that's just me. I like looking and see how we're doing in these other sports, and we are doing quite well, as you can see. So yes, they got some work to do with the NIL and how they're going to maneuver that and with moving forward. But start cutting sports and cutting programs, you're affecting the athletes that are here. I don't think that's good business to start doing that just to pay for one, to help support one athletic team over the other sports programs. But that's just me. Again, we're doing well in several of these other sports across the board. Keep up the good work, and we'll see. And I like seeing Ohio State do good in several things. So that's our other sports. But the big fall sport we all know is basketball. That's the next biggest revenue generating sport for a lot of colleges is basketball. And our men's and women's team. Well, let's start with the men. Let's start with the men. Coming into the year, I thought they were going to be really good. Really good. I thought it hurt. EJ Liddell left and Branham left. But we had a top five, I believe it was the top five class Chris Holtmann was bringing in. All freshmen, but it was one of the top rated classes coming in. and like the Ohio State football team, they were some of their bigger games. They were not able to close it out. I think earlier, one of the earlier games they had against North Carolina, they had North Carolina down by double digits. They let Carolina come back. A few weeks ago, they had Purdue team who was ranked number one at the time. We had them beat. I think we were by what, 5 points with 10 some seconds left to go, and we ended up losing by 3 or 2. We just it's like that football thing. We can't close out a game. We're unable to close out games, and then it just spiraled. They went on. I think they since that Purdue game they lost 6 of their last 7 games, and now we're just hoping if we can make the NIT. I think that's too much talent. Being as young as they are, that's still too much talent to be hoping you can make the NIT. I mean, granted, Zed Key got hurt in that Purdue game. I think did hurt us down the stretch, and he's fighting back from his injury. But some folks were already weren't happy with Chris Holtmann as it was. So hopefully, they can have a good. It's probably going to take a good tournament run in the Big Ten tournament to even be able to sniff the NCAAs, unless they can somehow turn it around. I don't see this team going to the NCAAs the way they are playing now if they cannot turn it around, or if they did not have a good run in the Big Ten tournament. With that said, we probably had the best freshman in the Big Ten, arguably the best freshman, Bryce Sensabaugh. He's just been, I did not anticipate him playing that well. A lot of talk, I believe, was about Felix Okpara, the center, but Bryce Sensabaugh has been the star of the freshman class, and I think Roddy Gale's come on lately. But Bryce Sensabaugh, that's a dude. That dude is big, and he's a freshman. He'll put him out there on the football team, and he's smooth. If you haven't watched Ohio State play and watched Bryce Sensabaugh play, watch him. He is the best freshman, I think, in the conference. He's won that award like 3-4 times in a row. And he to be so big and be so smooth, that just makes you just wish that Malachi would have came back for one more year to have him paired up with Sensabaugh. That would have been a good team. But they got some of the veterans got to step up. Justice Suing, he has to step up. Eugene Brown, he was out. Hopefully he can get back and start playing, get some significant minutes. And they got to find a way to turn it around. And if they get the lead, they got to find a way to hold these leads that they've been giving up. I think that's it does something to your psyche if you can't close out a game. And that Purdue game was just, to me, a devastating loss, because that's a game they had pretty much won. How they end up losing that was just that was just a terrible way to lose a game on your home court against the number one team when you had them down. Let them come back. So hopefully they can turn it around. I do believe it's going to take a good run in the Big Ten tournament to get them into the NCAAs. That's what they're going to need. So hopefully Chris Holtmann can turn it around. If he doesn't, like I said, people already want him out the door. But like I said, he had a good freshman class. We'll see how it finishes out down the street again. I don't think he's in danger of going anywhere given his freshman class. So we'll see. And he brought in some good. Unlike some folks are unhappy with how Ryan Day and our football teams handled the portal, I think Chris Holtmann's done an excellent job in the transfer portal. Brought in the point guard from I believe Oklahoma State, likely, and then the kid he got out of I think Wright State, Tanner Holden. Those are some good players. It's a deep team. That's why I'm surprised they are struggling the way they are struggling. So hopefully they can turn it around. But this freshman class, they're getting more playing time, with the exception of one of them, by Blake Okpara, has gotten a lot of playing time basically because Zed Key's injury. Roddy Gale, I said, is coming on strong. Bruce Thornton, he's going to be solid at point guard. And then, of course, Bryce Sensabaugh, I think, is the freshman of the year in the conference. So they got to turn around. They got some work to do to turn around. Our ladies team, they were off to a program best 19-0 start. And they did a lot of that without their two starting point guards, J.C. Sheldon and Madison Green. To go 19-0 without your two starting point guards says a lot about this team and the resiliency of this team. But having them out, that's probably starting to catch up to them. They lost their last two games. Of course, they're probably their toughest games to date on the schedule. At home against Iowa, and then of course they just lost to on the road at Indiana. So could it be some of that midseason slump coming on for them because they're logging some minutes they weren't expected to log with JC and Madison being out. The press has not been as effective, which was their calling card or has been their calling card all year long in generating turnovers. Either teams are just more prepared for it or they don't have the energy to keep pressing in the style that they have been at the beginning of the year. And so hopefully a positive sign was looking at JC on the sideline the other day. She was without that boot, and she's pretty much had that boot on ever since the injury. And so having that boot off is a good sign because I do believe with JC Sheldon back, with a healthy JC Sheldon back, this is still a potential Final Four team. Said they took the two losses. You don't want it to snowball into more. I thought following the Iowa loss, I was hoping they would be able to bounce back against Indiana because, again, you just don't want it to snowball. And you never say a loss is a good loss. And at the time, I thought the Iowa loss may have been a good loss because it takes the pressure off of going undefeated. And you can see they were tight in that game. The shots just were not falling in that game. And then, of course, they let Caitlin Clark do her thing. She gonna do. And Iowa, I think they had a chip on their shoulder because we went down to their arena last year and beat them on their home court. So they had a little bit of extra motivational stuff coming into this Ohio State game. So I wasn't surprised that they actually lost that game because I thought they were going to be. I thought Iowa was going to be extra motivated to come in here and win. They had no pressure on them. Ohio State was supposed to win, even though they were out their two star players. And I just think the pressure finally caught up to them, and the shots weren't falling. The Indiana game was going to be on the road. That was always going to be a tough game. So hopefully they don't have that pressure of going undefeated now. They can just relax and start playing basketball. Hopefully they'll get JC Sheldon back and get her healthy as close to 100% as possible. Get ready to close out the year, head into the Big Ten tournament. Hopefully things are clicking on all cylinders, because I think this team is still a Final Four potential team because, like the men's team, I think our women's team, we have the best freshmen in the conference. If you have not seen Cotie McMahon play, she is just fearless. She is fearless, and she just takes it to the rack. She does not care. She may be hitting that freshman slump, so to speak, these last two games. Hopefully she can get rejuvenated. Taylor Theory can get going, and they can get this stuff going again. But I do think Ohio State has the best pair of freshmen in the conference. To me, it's similar to when we had Kelsey Mitchell and D'Angelo Russell. We had the best pair of freshmen in the conference, and I think these two freshmen mimic those two. I mean, Bryce has played so good, he might be a one and done. People are even talking about. I hope not. I don't think he's quite there yet, but that's how good he's been playing to even be mentioned like that. And like I said, Cotie McMahon, you just gotta watch her play. She's one of my favorite players. And hopefully the women's team can turn it around. And hats off to Kevin McGuff being able to do what he's done without his two starting point guards. Everyone thought, oh man, what are we gonna do when JC Sheldon went down? But Madison Green stepped up, and boom, we didn't miss a beat. And then like, oh man, Madison Green went down, and you just got it. He's one of those players you feel sorry for. She had that season-ending injury last year and turn around and do it again this year, just when she was really starting to come on. And then she goes out with the knee injury. And Ricky Harris, she's been asked to do something that she hadn't done since high school, was run the point. She's done an admirable job at it, but that's not her primary thing, is to come in and do defense, be that defensive pressure. And she got a lot of players doing stuff outside of their normal thing. Taylor Mixell's been asked to handle the ball more, which I think that has affected her three-point shot. She's had to handle the ball more, and it's just, and just on the surface, it may not seem like a problem. You lose your two starting point guards and rely on them as much as Ohio State relies on their point guards, because they're a guard-heavy team. It messes up the rotation. It changes the roles of what these players are expected to do. And I think they have done an admirable job. So hats off to Ricky Harris, hats off to Taylor Mixell, and then Rebecca Mikolashova has a player improved more than her. I mean, Dorka, y'all know who saw some of my earlier stuff. You know how I felt when Dorka left and went to UConn. She left because she said she wanted to get developed. I haven't heard of her since she had what she's done since she's went to UConn. But the improvement that Rebecca Mikulashova has done under Kevin McGuff speaks volumes to the development. So you got players coming out of high school seeing where Rebecca is now to where she was when she first got here. I think that speaks volumes to the development that he's doing for his players, and in particular her. Her 3-point shot, her moves around the basket. She's just been phenomenal this year. So again, hats off to Kevin McGuff. I was one of those ones who questioned Kevin McGuff because I thought he had far more talented teams in the past that just flamed out for no good reason other than bad coaching. Because those Kelty Mitchell teams were very talented. I'll take some of those teams over the team he has now, but they couldn't do nothing. And that run he made last year in the NCAAs was just, I was like taking my hats off to him. And I think he has another good class coming in. So hopefully he can keep it going. Hopefully we get J.C. Sheldon back 100% healthy and get ready for the Big Ten tournament and make a run in these NCAAs because I think they can go deep. And then some of the fans were saying, well, they haven't beaten anyone since J.C. Sheldon's been out. But they've beaten just as many top 10, top 20 teams as any other program in the country. So I think they went on the road, beat Louisville. They beat Michigan. They beaten can't remember. They beaten Tennessee. They beat a tough Rutgers team at Rutgers. They came back against Illinois. They've beaten some really good teams without J.C. Sheldon and Madison Green. So I think that argument goes mute. Of course, I think they had some chip on their shoulder. They remember last year's game when Ohio State went in there and beat them. So they had extra motivation coming in. And then Indiana, they're just a good team. And with Indiana's home court, and they were still at the time ranked number 2. So people are gunning for you, the number 2 team. They're probably going to drop in the polls. Hopefully, they won't drop too far considering the competition. Those were both top 10 matchups. The Big Ten is stacked in the women's basketball. Unlike the men, I think we got one team ranked right now on the men's side. But our women's programs, the women's conference in the Big Ten is stacked. It is loaded. So it's not surprising that they lost those games. So hopefully they can get back on track. And that's so hopefully got this last month to get ready for March Madness. Because again, hopefully the men can turn it around. I think they're going to need a big run in the Big Ten tournament to even get a sniff. Other than that, they're going to the NIT. Our ladies get J.C. Sheldon back. We got a potential Final Four team right there. Like I said, our other sports, we're doing good. But still, you know what dominates today? Even when ain't nothing going on, it's all about football. What's going on in the football world? Like I said, the next big day, gridiron wise, is the spring game. And we know what's going on happen there is the biggest QB battle I think in college sports is going to be what's taking place at Ohio State. Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Of course, that might be the biggest QB battle since the last big QB battle when it was Kyle McCord and C.J. Stroud. McCord lost that one, so hopefully he's learned something and he's ready to go and he'll win this one. I'm pulling for Kyle McCord. I think there's a thing, especially in this day and age, for loyalty. But if Devin Brown beats him out, so be it. But I'm thinking Kyle McCord. I think it's his job to lose. That's just my own personal opinion. It's his job to lose. He was the teammate of Marvin Harrison, and get those two hooked back up. Who knows? Harrison may have even a bigger year with Kyle McCord throwing the ball. So we'll see how that wraps up. The next big day is what? National Signing Day. I think the early signing period, Ohio State got the vast majority of the folks they were hoping to get. I think we did lose out on one, but the last holdout we were looking for was it Bonsu, the safety, and he signed. So I don't expect any big fireworks come the late signing period now. It used to be National Signing Day, but now it's just the late signing period. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't expect any new folks to come scholarship wise. But in the interim, we did get a tackle or a center or a offensive lineman, let's put it that way, in via the portal, which a lot of folks were saying, how come we can't get a lineman? We can't get a lineman. We're losing some folks along the front. We got to get a lineman. Well, we lost out on a lot of our supposed targets. They signed elsewhere from the transfer portal, but we finally got one. We got one. Victor Cutler, I believe. He comes from the University of Louisiana Monroe. He has starting experience, and we got him shortly after Luke Whippler decided he was going off to the NFL. Whippler was our starting center. Cutler's expected to come in and compete at center, which is what fans I thought were asking for. We need to get us an offensive lineman. Yeah, we missed out on some of the targets they thought we were in play for, but we got one. You think everyone be happy, but I told you, there's that yeah but crowd. Yeah, but we had to settle. He just from Louisiana Monroe, yada yada yada. We got him almost right after Whippler decided to go pro, and he's coming in with starting experience. He's coming in having played against some of the SEC powers, and from some of the stuff I have heard and read about him, he held his own against those defensive fronts in the SEC. He was excited to come here to learn under Justin Frye. So again, the spotlight's on Justin Frye to do something with this offensive line. Being that we lost 3/5 of our line, both our tackles and our center. Quite arguably the most important three positions on the line are your tackles and your centers. So he has his work cut out for him. So it's going to be to see how that's. He's expected to come in to play and compete for center, but I think he plays very versatile when he's played all three line positions. So we'll see how that works out. Then, and another, speaking of coaching, I think he got some fans excited. Little Animal is back. James Laurinaitis is back. He's going to be a grad assistant here at Ohio State, and I cannot. Colorado got they got Deion Sanders, they got Prime Time. Maybe not on that scale, but we got Little Animal. He coming back. He's going to help that linebacker room. I think he's going to do wonders for Eichenberg, Still Chambers, and we got a plethora of young linebackers that we haven't really seen yet. Again, that's why I'm not worried we missed out on some of our linebacker targets, because we still got Reed Carrico. We still got Gabe Powers. We still got C.J. Hicks. We've got a young team, and so I'm just excited to see what James Laurinaitis can add to that linebacker room, or just the defensive room in general. His attitude, and hopefully that will filter down to some of these guys on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see that. Other than that, again, not much going on in the football world. And when that stuff happens, we still got to talk football. And a lot of folks are coming out with their top 10 list of Ohio State stuff related one way or another. So I'm going to do some of my own top 10 lists leading up to the spring game. So again, come back, check it out. Again, if you're liking this segment, what do you think about the basketball situation? Are you happy with the job Chris Holtmann has done? Are you happy with how our ladies are progressing? If you're watching the ladies team, are you happy with the freshman class? Are we making the NCAAs for the men's side, or are we just going to the NIT? So be interested on your comments on that. Interested on the top 10 lists you want to see and discuss, and how it's always interesting how people compare and contrast top 10 lists. So I'm going to be doing some of my own moving forward. So again, if you're liking this segment, please hit the like button. If you enjoy Buckeye content in general, please subscribe. So until next time, OHIO, go Bucks.